So you've been going to the gym and you've been doing these exercises. You've been putting in the work. And then one day it hits you. Is what I've been doing actually giving me the ability to continue doing this or this or this? And why am I still getting this or this or this or this? In today's topic, we're going to introduce to you a controversial strategy that is the next evolution of fitness and health and threatens to supplant both the healthcare and the fitness industries in the coming years. In this video, we'll show you what this controversial strategy is, how it differs from other approaches, and how it can give you lifetime results with a fraction of the effort. The concept is called longevity training. And here's a quote here from Laird Hamilton. I always loved the term victory through attrition. You know, when you're just the last guy. If you're the last guy standing and you don't have to be any good, you just win. You're the winner. You won because you're the only guy left. And so that's kind of encompassing of what longevity training is about. So what is longevity training? It's also called functional health, and it's really a combination of health approaches and training approaches to bridge the chasm in between healthcare and fitness. So what are the goals of longevity training? They're for the length of life, for the quality of life all the way through life, to be free of pain and disease, so what we call health span, and to lengthen the amount of time that you're able to physically compete. That doesn't mean you have to compete throughout a lifetime, but it means you're able to. And so how does it work? Well, basically what it does is it optimizes the full function of the human body, and it utilizes components from all the domains in the human health and movement sciences, meaning like conventional medicine, holistic medicine, wellness, physical conditioning, and the other movement sciences. So where's it from? Well, it originated many years ago, and it's been called kinesiotherapy, MediFit, exercises medicine. Presently, it's called functional health systems. And so most physical development programs were of this type in the pre-bodybuilding era, and that's every era, pretty much prior to the 1980s. What it is a paradigm shift from, where the doctor might say, hey, exercise is good for you, do more. To really, it's how to implement exercise with precision, health, and performance results. And so that's contrasting a little bit with the building muscle groups or the losing body fat type thing. Doesn't mean that building muscle groups and losing body fat isn't important. It's just that it's fairly myopic, and it leaves out a lot of things about the way your body actually functions when you focus strictly on those parameters. And so we're really making the body work better longer rather than just look better. And so it's been popularized lately by the biohacking industry and functional health industry. And you can see examples of this in the experts, Gary Brecka, Rhonda Patrick, Peter Attia, Andrew Huberman, Jack Kruse, Stephen Gundry. These are great health scientists, and they have some wonderful information. You should look up their channels if you have a chance. And they center around these concepts, one being blue zone, or looking at areas in the world where people live to over 100 years of age, insurance data and population health data, looking at why people get disease, how people avoid disease, and what's in the environment, what's in their food, how do they live their daily lives, all that kind of stuff. We have to look at individual diagnostics. How do we track within an individual certain parameters of health in order to see, where that individual is able to, have a checklist of things that are saying, yes, these lead to connection with that insurance data, with those blue zone data, with that population health data. And of course, that is, in contrast to simply building muscle and losing fat, because the fact is that building muscle and losing fat doesn't really correlate very well with any of that insurance data, any of that population health data, any of the Blue Zone data. I always say that we don't necessarily see an LA Fitness or a Gold's Gym at the top of the hill in, in Sardinia or any of these other Blue Zone areas. So, all right. So how does this compare with other approaches? One big thing is that it's a more comprehensive assessment and diagnostic look at the individual. And so when you enter into this, what you're going to want to do is take a very comprehensive metabolic assessment. And you can get all of these from both your fitness and your medical professionals and or a specialist like myself. And so with metabolic, you want to look at your basic fitness, such as your body weight, your body composition, your BMI, those, gain muscle, lose fat type metrics. Those are important, as well as are your vital signs like your blood pressure and your oxygen readings. You're going to want to know those, and then you're going to want to know more advanced cardiometabolic assessments that are associated with health, like resting metabolic rate, resting heart rate, all those kind of stuff. Then you're going to want to look at clinical biomarkers. Now, these are the basic biomarkers that you're going to get from a blood test when you go in for your regular checkup every year, for your regular physical every year. But you're also going to want to do these things in what we call actionable time. Once a year is not actionable time. And so we're going to want to do that. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get an advanced physiological movement assessment. So this is looking at the movement system of your body, seeing how it moves, why you might be getting chronic pain, where inefficiencies come in, and how you can correct those. And then you're going to want to get a look at your performance in strength, your posture and your gait, balance, mobility, cardiovascular, maybe even coordination patterns and hand-eye coordination, stuff like that. And then you're going to want to do all these at the level that you're at. Specifically with performance, you're going to want to get those performance tests done at the level that you're at, where what I see commonly is that what's done is that they're taking these performance assessments kind of generically across a group of people, as opposed to doing them with respect to where the individual is right now. And so that's one of the big major differences. And so the second thing we're looking at is, well, what real goal are you trying to achieve? And so if we compare the goals and we compare longevity training with, strength and conditioning and your commercial fitness centers and physical therapy, what we see in strength and conditioning is that the goal they're trying to achieve is athletic achievement and injury resilience for the athlete. And then fitness, well, we're looking at that muscle size and fat loss. That's the main goal. Physical therapy, it's going to be injury recovery. And then we get to longevity training, and that's going to be injury resilience, health-specific improvement, functional development, and these are going to be at multiple levels of functionality throughout the body. And then we got to look at, well, population. So what population is it appropriate for? All these different approaches are appropriate for. With strength and conditioning, primarily our population is going to be high school, college, Olympic, and professional athletes. So people that are competing pretty much for a living. In fitness, we're going to be looking at, those people who are really going in and they're equating fitness with bodybuilding, those bodybuilding parameters such as muscle size and fat loss. And, these are going to be people that are at a certain level of fitness already to go into studios and commercial fitness centers. Then physical therapy is going to be for the injured, people who have an actual injury, maybe not even chronic pain or chronic health conditions, but people who are experiencing an actual injury in terms of tissue damage or something of that nature. And then longevity training is going to be for anyone looking for the long-term optimal function of the body, for the chronic condition and chronic pain resilience, and then also looking for practical strength and physical development. Then what location? Where do we develop our bodies? Are you learning to develop your body, or are you learning to develop or to use equipment? And so in strength and conditioning, you're going to go to a facility, usually in an education or an Olympic training facility or a professional training facility or a college, something like that. In fitness, you're going to go to a commercial gym or fitness studio. In physical therapy, you're going to go to a clinic. And then in longevity training, we're going to teach you how to do this and develop your body anywhere. It could be your living room. It could be your front yard. It could be the park. It could be at a commercial gym or something like that. But it really is teaching you how to use your body and to get the optimal function out of your body with respect to your body, not with respect to the equipment that you're using or with respect to the place that you're at. So then independence. And so training is education. When you're training your body, you need to be educating it. And so you need to get competence in new abilities, and this should be paramount with your approach. So you should be building new abilities at each level that you develop your body. And so independence seeking with strength and conditioning, it's somewhat independent seeking, meaning that the athlete learns a lot of new things, a lot of new abilities, but do they necessarily carry those abilities and that approach to life outside of training for their sport? And in fitness, do you necessarily carry those abilities to outside of the gym? Or outside of the time with your personal trainer, or outside of the time that you go to the studio. Physical therapy, do you carry those abilities outside of the actual healing of the injuries to make sure that you prevent the injury going forward? And then longevity training, do you carry those abilities, with you for a lifetime? And that's our main goal. So yes, that's an absolute there. And then, is it outcomes based? This may seem obvious, but this may not actually be the case with a lot of these systems. We say what is measured is what is managed, and that's by the guy who created the Kelvin scale for temperature. But anyways, this means that what they measure is really what the output that we're looking for. And so, in strength and conditioning, output is absolutely, it is absolutely an outcomes-based system. However, what they're measuring is, within output, within the confines of the athletic performance domain, and so if you're not an athlete, this isn't going to mean a whole lot to you. In fitness, they're going to measure some outputs, but it's going to be really done at the beginning of a program in order to sell you personal training sessions. The output that they're looking for is how to sell you sessions and how to sell you, maybe memberships and stuff like that. They're not really looking for the outcome of their clients. For instance, you never really measure an outcome in a yoga class. You never really measure an outcome in Pilates. You never really measure an outcome when it comes to your, a little bit more when it comes to your own personal trainer. There's a wide spectrum on that. But hopefully, you should be gaining independence from that personal trainer through the outcomes that you're able to produce. Physical therapy has, they measure outcomes, but it's only within the context of your injury that you're experiencing. And then with longevity training, yes, we are measuring output. It's a major area of focus, and it's comprehensive and across all areas of physical functional development for your body. So an additional difference is, number one, exercise in longevity training is just one component. Functional health programs focus on a variety of factors. And so you're going to want to focus on nutrition and supplementation active behaviors, recreation and occupation. What's happening in your job? What's happening? How do you play? Do you join a sports league? Do you have, sort of interest, outside of just training within a facility or within your training program, on things that you're doing? How do you restore your body back to health? How does it develop from the things that you're doing? All those things you're going to want to look at within your longevity and functional health approach. You want to be location independent. You don't just want to learn how to use equipment as a sport or a hobby, but you want to learn how to use your body. So my experience in this, for about 20 years between 1994 and 2014, which is actually coming right out of high school, I was experiencing severe back pain. I couldn't get off the floor during certain spasms. I would experience this back pain that was just incredible. Like literally not getting out of bed sort of thing. And I'm an athlete, so, it's not like I didn't have a, pain threshold or something like that. And so I was really addicted to the strength and conditioning aspects of training, deriving from what I learned in high school, what I was introduced to in high school. Everything happened in a squat rack and under a bench press. But I wasn't doing the appropriate restorative training and those other aspects. And so I wasn't getting the full puzzle put together. And so I worked with athletic trainers and physical therapists and all sorts of people within the movement sciences. And I would get technique, and my mindset shifted as my body got out of pain and actually learned to perform better with less work and very little gym time. And so this thought process was able to produce results in other areas such as metabolic and heart health for myself and all my clients alike. Plus, we were able to lead many, 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 many clients out of chronic pain to where, they like things that they were trying before were just, they were like, come to me, with, just, frustrated, pulling their hair out. I used to have hair before this, pulling their hair out going, hey man, I just haven't, nothing's worked to keep me out of pain and metabolically healthy, and then we were able to lead them to these things just like they were able to help me. And so this also significantly decreased my gym time while keeping my performance levels high and decreasing undesirable effects such as those spasms, but also just sort of like also decreasing basic soreness and stuff like that, and so decreasing the gym time was able to let me focus on other areas such as, if I was studying for college or working on business and things like that. I was able to switch those resources over into those other areas. And, instead of just in my gym time, which was, of course, with what I do as a major area of focus for myself, almost just as a hobby. And so how can you get lifetime results with a fraction of the effort? Well, what you can get out of it, you can get independence. You can get independence from healthcare or conventional medicine. I'm not saying to be free of your doctor completely, but at least you're going to have an idea of the options to exercise when you walk into the doctor, and questions to ask and critically think about what the doctor has to offer you, knowing that maybe instead of just getting a drug or a steroid type medication that is not going to be good for your whole system, from the doctor, that you're going to say, well, there's a lot of other avenues that I can pursue that are going to get me out of this symptom or this health condition that I'm having a negative experience with, and not only have the drug or the surgery or whatever it is. I can do things on my own, and I can, get myself out of this. Maybe I don't have to rely just on this pharmaco or surgical intervention. And it's going to get you independence from the fitness industry too. Again, not complete independence, but you won't have the high need from, studios and classes and, what I call the helicopter training, the helicopter personal trainer that just stands over you and counts reps and things of that nature and talks about the weather in order to get you to come into the gym. And so it's going to maximize your return on your investment of effort and time. So you're going to stop needing to spend so much time and effort in the studio in order to get a better performance result out of your body. And so, but it should be noted that it does take more in terms of focus, lifestyle shifts, and things like that. And so you're going to have continuity. You're going to have to have consistency. But in fact, it actually enables you to be able to do that. If you study up on how to do this program for yourself. Of course, as with any other project like your finances or your education or anything else that you're working on, you're going to need to create a strong strategy in order to implement a longevity training approach. And you can do that by checking out this video right here, or it might be right there. I don't know wherever it ended up on YouTube, but it's on the screen. Go ahead and check that out. And I hope you got a lot of value out of today.